In this video we look at the creatures from the Star Wars vintage line that Hasbro really needs to release in the modern vintage collection. Hey there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to episode 5 of the Vintage Collection Gaps. This is the series where I look at figures and card backs from the original vintage line from the 70s and 80s that are still yet to be released in the vintage collection. In this episode we turn our attention to some awesome creatures that were released by Kenner back in the day. We have obviously had the Taun Taun in the first run of the vintage collection, so I see no reason why they can't update some more of the creatures from the original trilogy. And if you happen to have missed episode 1 to 4, where I looked at the actual action figures from the original trilogy, then check out the links in the description below. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed today's video, it really does help the channel. And let's take a look at the first creature on the list. So first up we have the Rancor Monster. Now this was obviously an awesome toy back in 1983, and to be honest still looks pretty good 36 years later. Now I'm sure you've noticed that 2019 has been the year of Jabba the Hutt as far as the vintage collection is concerned. Due to the HasLab Sailbard project, Hasbro have released a bunch of figures this year to complement it. We've obviously had Lando Skiff, Leia Boushh, Yak Face, Klaatu, and of course the Jabba's playset, which included Ree-Ys and Han Solo and Carbonite. Not forgetting the upcoming Tatooine Skiff vehicle and the Skiff Guard 3-pack of Vizam, Vidane and Brock Starsha. So wouldn't it be awesome if Hasbro released a Rancor Monster in a vintage style box? It goes so well with the Jabba's Palace playset, and I wouldn't mind if they just repacked the Legacy Collection version that we had a few years back. I don't own one myself, but it looks pretty accurate to me. There was a Power of the Force version too, but of course things have come a long way since then. My idea would be to get the Legacy Collection version, repack it in a vintage style box, and perhaps it could come with some buildings. That would be pretty cool as well, similar to the Jabba's Palace. You know, maybe they could put the big gate that crashes down on him or something like that. Sticking with Jabba the Hutt, and I think it would be pretty cool for the many people that are unable to get the barge, that Hasbro release a Jabba the Hutt all by itself. They could include a Salacious Crumb just like they did in the 80s version, and maybe even a Slave Leia or one of the dancers. I just feel keeping that Jabba exclusive to the barge is a little unfair and should be released separately in a vintage style box. Staying with Jabba once more, we have the Max Rebo Band. Again, another creature set from the vintage line that we are yet to see in the modern vintage collection. Back in the day this set was released in 2 different package types. You had the open window style version like the one I'm showing you on screen now, and also a tri-logo box version, which is actually the one I prefer and would most like Hasbro to use as an inspiration. We've had various band members released in the past, most notably in the Power of the Force line. The Max Rebo is actually a pretty decent figure, but I still feel like that they can update them and put them in that vintage style box that we all love. Moving away from Jabba the Hutt but remaining in Tatooine, we have the Dewback. So last year Hasbro released the 6-inch scale Black Series version with the Sand Trooper, which is an absolutely awesome set. I had to pick one up as soon as it was released. I actually did a comparison video where I compare it to the Power of the Force version and the original vintage version, so if you want to check that video out I'll put a link card just at the top of this video. Unfortunately I do not have the Legacy Collection version, which is the latest 3.75 inch scale version, but looking at it I don't know, I just think the head seems a little thin or pointy. I feel the Power of the Force version and the new Black Series versions are a little more accurate. So to me, Hasbro should just scale down the Black Series version and give it to us as part of the vintage collection with box art that is reminiscent of the classic Kenner vintage boxes. Last up we have the Hoth Wampa. So this is another classic from my childhood. Now I know that we have had various versions of the Wampa over the last few years. The most recent one being the sort of Last Jedi style boxing. It's a 5 POA version. Pretty sure it came with the Luke Skywalker. But I don't know, I just don't think any of the versions over the last few years have got it quite right, so I do believe that Hasbro should make a brand new sculpt with plenty of articulation, stick it in that vintage style packaging, and make sure that it complements the Taun Taun just like they did back in the early 80s. Okay then guys, those are the creature sets that Hasbro still haven't given us from the original vintage line. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to know which one you would want them to make the most. So don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you are new. Thank you all very much for watching as per usual, and we shall see you on the next one.